Hi, everybody. I want to welcome you to our Pisces pre-full moon webinar. The actual time of the full moon is tomorrow, at least here in the States and also in Europe. It's at 6:05 and 21 seconds p.m. on March 5th. This is March 4th, and my wife Tuya will be leading that particular webinar, so hopefully you've received your link for that. And I'm sorry for the confusion about the links. Even though Mercury is not retrograde, it seems to have a permanent retrograde for me. So I trust that you'll know how to be there. This is a very, very important sign, Pisces. It is the of the three cosmic decanates, one of which is associated with each of our great teachers. The Scorpio decanate with Hercules, and the Taurus decanate with Buddha. The Pisces decanate is associated with the Christ, and it has a great second ray pouring through it in a cosmic sense. So of all the signs, ultimately it seems to bring through the most of the second ray of love wisdom, even though at the present time Virgo is the greatest dispenser of love wisdom for humanity, but that will change in time. These are the Joffre illustrations. It's mostly Neptunian here, as we see the Neptune, the brother of Jupiter, is certainly represented centrally, and he's holding the two fish. And the two fish, we understand from the Tibetan, represent the soul and personality. And they each have a certain type of dominance at different occasions. At first, the lower fish is, in a way, the whale, which swallows Jonah, which is the soul. But in time, Jonah makes his way out and captivates the lower fish. And that is on the path of spirituality, that captivation of the lower by the higher. And this takes, of course, millions of years. Now, let's just say that people like ourselves who are aspirants on the spiritual path, we are somewhat in the process of seeking the domination of the higher fish over the lower one. It is a water sign. There's a great deal of cohesion that's involved here. But since these illustrations are not given for esoteric consideration, Pluto is missing. And as we can see over here from the banner, although Jupiter is the normal ruler of Pisces, representing a force which brings all things together, a great separative and cleaving force, Pluto, is representing the esoteric position and also a still higher hierarchical rulership. So it is Pisces is a great sign of detachment from all that is illusory. Although in the beginning, there's a great deal of illusion and glamour connected with the normal Piscean individual, but eventually they make their way out of that, and through the planet of death, which is Pluto, it never kills the consciousness, but it does kill attachment to form. There is this great detachment and a reattachment to the essence. And Neptune, which Alan Leo assigned as the ruler of Pisces, it was not hitherto assigned that way. DK said that was a great intuition, but really Neptune has to do with the a special connection of humanity with Pisces via that particular planet. And Neptune is the planet of identification, where all boundaries between apparent things are broken down and everything fuses into one whole. So there's the great power of fusion which exists in Pisces. And finally, Neptune really should be considered, in a way, the highest of the rulers of Pisces, even higher than the two planets here represented, Jupiter and Pluto. Francis Donald has provided us with illustrations for Pisces, a couple of them, and they are in sequence and showing a certain evolution of the man coming out of the chrysalis of personality and eventually being liberated. The first, I will not read all of the words he's written on these. I'm sure you can, either by now you have them or you can from Francis attain them. With regard to this first illustration, we have the following words. As he has throughout the long ages of his existence, and will many times again in the eons that lie before him, our Piscean native prepares for death. We understand that both Pluto and Neptune are planets of death, and even Jupiter is an interesting planet of death because through divine magnetism it absorbs the soul out of form and reattaches it to a higher type of dimension. He retreats deep within himself. So we see that in the chrysalis here. It's a very inward, interior type of attitude that our individual has here, our potential disciple. He retreats deep within himself to a place which stands between the night of the form world, and the dawn which soon will follow. And we see this in a duality here. Here is the night of the form world, in which the moon is featured, and Pluto in between, representing detachment, and here is the dawning with the sun coming up over the mountains. Okay. So he is swayed in turn by both, that is the form world and the dawn, and as he struggles against fear, the moon's troubled waters fill him with doubt. This is our human condition until we have the certainty of our soul's self firmly established in consciousness. Form ever clings to the past, while the inner spark leaps towards its source. That's the divine alchemical process in which the volatile essence, which is our spirit, eventually is released from the identification with form. In the midst of his struggle, unseen and unheard, a lord of will spirals from the inner realms to this outer place. His presence fills our seeker with peace. And here we see the spiraling of a lord of will in the background who will work upon our Piscean native. In this moment of profound calm, the gateway into life more abundant flashes across the disciple's inner vision, and he realizes that death, as he has learned to view it, is an illusion born of fear. In a way, Pisces is a very monadic sign, along with Virgo. And when we contemplate the mantram for Pisces, the spiritual mantram, I leave the Father's home, and turning back I save, that's all about the spirit descending into the five lower planes, the monad in extension, as it were. So, he releases his grip on the past, and the form world loses its hold on him. He shifts his point of tension beyond the chrysalis, which now appears to him as a binding sheath, and so it should to so many of us, our personality as a binding sheath, and following his sutratma, or the life thread, or the silver thread, that has anchored him in his body, he passes through the narrow passage towards liberation. There's many other things that Francis has written here. We don't have time to look at them all right now. There are some very interesting quotes here from the Tibetan. The first ray is the controller of the death drama in all kingdoms, a destruction of forms which brings about release of power and permits entrance into light through the gateway of death. And Pisces is very connected with that kind of death, which leads to an exaltation of consciousness. The disciple comes through Pluto under the destroying power of death. And let's remember, it doesn't just have to be death of the physical body. Death of desire, death of the personality, and of all, excuse me, which holds him between the pairs of opposites. In order to achieve the final liberation, the disciple is held. The disciple is not the personality, and in a way, before he realizes it, the disciple is not identified as the soul. So the disciple is between the pairs of opposites, and I'm sure that so many of us find ourselves there, neither identified fully with the personality or fully with the soul, but we're making our way into identification with the soul, and eventually, in Pisces, especially in Pisces, identification as the monad or the spirit. And this is such an important statement the Tibetan has given. Pluto or death never destroys the consciousness aspect. Okay, and then, well, there are many things here, and maybe you can if you go to Makara when this is posted on our Makara website, you can just, I would suppose, freeze the screen while you're looking at it and study these matters which are of interest. Now, the next illustration, I think, is, let's see, very important, and it gives quite a different picture, and we're moving on from the moment of leaving the chrysalis into identification with higher aspects. Notice we have the fish here, and I guess our little disciple is riding the fish, which is the personality. And above all of this geometry, which Francis beautifully explains, we have the eyes of the Christ. I don't know if you can see that. They're kind of in a deep indigo color, supervising this whole process of release, and the sun, which has risen over the entire process, indicating the liberation. So let's look at this, and yeah, it should be right here. Okay, so we are free from the chrysalis now. The death of desire, death of personality, we are free. And now we are talking about the eye of the soul. And we are on the reversed wheel, which means we are passing through the zodiacal signs in their proper, or at least familiar order, from Aries to and through Pisces. Upon the reversed wheel, the soul proceeds to detach itself from the personality and reattach itself in consciousness to the one who sent it forth. Such is the climaxing story of Pisces. And we may realize that while most human beings are said to end their incarnational career after many millions of years in the sign Aquarius as the server of all, the world server, some few take the fifth initiation and attach themselves to Shambhala, and they become lords of sacrifice. They end their incarnational career in the sign Pisces in a deep, deep state of identification. Now, on our particular little planet, it is identification which is particularly taught, and the masters of wisdom are lesser dragons of wisdom, and they are masters of identification. So Francis goes on, using a different set of metaphors. The eye of the soul depicts the next stage of the Piscean process. A fish representing the vehicle of the personality consciousness and its rider, the captive soul, let's say the soul in incarnation, have together navigated the waters of the lower quaternary for countless eons. Matter is water. Okay. Inexorably drawn by his monad, the little one urges his Piscean vehicle to lift itself beyond its own watery element. Together they emerge from the dark waters of substance. But in the rare atmosphere of soul contact, the fish, which is the personality self, occultly dies. And Francis tells us if you look closely, you'll see the night sky filled with those fish that have gone before. I don't know if you can see it too well, but if you look here, here are the outlines of the fish that have gone before. We certainly have been preceded by many who have taken the spiritual path and are in the state of liberation. Okay, this represents the transformative agency of Pluto, for as DK says, Pluto never destroys the consciousness aspect. It's so important to remember because we often think of Pluto as the ruler of death, and of course it is. Pisces is no weak and sweet sign, and if you misuse the Pisces energy, you can bring about a kind of universal death, and this we have to watch out for in these days when we are leaving the sign Pisces, and Pluto is very important. Some of those who have been very harsh and cruel to humanity have had Pisces in their chart, and they were ruled by Pluto in the lower sense, and they were not using Pluto as the exaltation of the consciousness through detachment. They were using Pluto to destroy the form. Here's some beautiful thoughts the Tibetan has offered, I think, from the reappearance of the Christ. At least they are to be found there. As the dispenser of the water of life, and as the nourisher of the little ones, he, the Christ, enters upon his duties in the Aquarian age, whilst at the center of the triangle. So he is the point within the triangle, and we know about that triangle, don't we? It consists of the avatar of synthesis, an extraplanetary being, the spirit of peace, also an extraplanetary being working through Shambhala, and through the Buddha working through Shambhala. So he influences, enlightens, and produces right relations in the masses of men. In the coming era, the Christ will therefore be known as the point within the triangle, the dispenser of the waters of life. It so fits with the Aquarian energy, doesn't it? And the nourisher of the little ones. As the point within the triangle, the Christ becomes the awakener of the hearts of men, the central point, the heart. As the nourisher of the little ones, the purifying waters of the baptism initiation, which is the second initiation, will submerge hundreds of aspirants in many lands, and these two initiations, which are preparatory to true service, and the third initiation of the transfiguration, notice true service is beginning at the third degree, how interesting, will set the seal on Christ's mission as the agent of the great spiritual triangle which he represents, and we've talked about that. Well, there are many beautiful things to contemplate here, and I'm just going slowly through this, so if you want to review this or look at the pages, you can find what is necessary. Yes, the first and second rays are particularly found in Pisces, notice through Pluto, first ray, and Jupiter, second ray. Part of the work of Pluto is to cut the thread which binds the two opposing lives together. We are in a state of bondage at the moment, but we can be liberated through the power of Pluto, as unpleasant as it may be to the personality at times. But through Jupiter, Pisces is also ruled by the second ray. It is the activity, consequently, of the second ray force, says the Tibetan, which relates soul and form and brings the two together. And this magnetic potency is peculiarly descriptive of the activity of Pisces. It's really an amazing sign, and thank you, Francis, for culling out these references and for your beautiful and meaningful illustrations. So, okay, friends. Yes, there we are in the ocean of substance, rising into the geometrically divine realms, all supervised by the Christ. The second ray, which the Christ represents, is called the great geometrician, the grand geometrician, and we are learning how to enter the realm of archetypes via geometry. I think it can be said that archetypes are as particularly found on the monadic and logoic planes, they are the great geometrical prototypes upon which all in our lower realm, upon which all is to be fashioned here in our lower realm. But as long as we are attached to normal conditions and do not see with archetypal eyes, we will not know how to rearrange things in the lower realms so that they truly reflect the heavenly spheres. Okay. Well, that's a lot of information there. I do suggest, if you're interested in the astrological aspect on Makara, I've worked through page by page, line by line, paragraph by paragraph, the entirety of esoteric astrology in a video form, spontaneous talking form, and you'll see the text right in front of you. And if you really want to get into that, please do go to Makara and undertake that study, which I think it will take a long time. It's been said we cannot learn astrology in one lifetime, and when it comes to esoteric astrology, well, that's doubly and triply true. The Tibetan has an amazing grasp of these energies. He's an expert in the planetary and systemic and even cosmic energies, and we can learn so much which will help us see life in a truer manner. All right. So now we will get into our meditation. We are technically in a day of a dedication. And 12 hours before the full moon, and let's see, when will that be? Well, maybe we're, no, we're not. I'm thinking in terms of Arizona time, but let's just say wherever you are, 12 hours before the full moon, we enter into this period of receiving and holding the energies. And as we may know, the Tibetan said, at least to his students at the time, that he would be alert to their individual and especially to their group approach to hierarchy, and I suppose strengthen that approach. We do want the link between us and the elder brothers, the members of the hierarchy, to be as strong as possible. And here in Pisces, a special type of sensitivity is involved which allows us really to thin the veils which keep us from realizing the true nature of the higher worlds and allow those higher worlds into our nature so that a real fusion takes place between heaven and earth. And then, as I say, at 6:05 and 21 seconds p.m. in London, or at least GMT, we will have the actual full moon. So we have a day, about a day, a little less than a day, to prepare for that and heighten our point of tension so that we have a very great receptivity to the subtle energies which Pisces represents. Okay. So here we are, some 80 some of us, scattered all over the world, at least in our personality, but we withdraw our consciousness from the usual personality perceptions and preoccupations. One by one we pull back and pull within. And we detach ourselves from the usual motions and ways of the form life, so we are not entangled in it, from the body and its senses, from the emotions, the attraction, repulsion, the realm of desire and feeling in the lower sense, from the concrete mind filled with concrete thoughts. And we stand recognizing ourselves as the soul in incarnation. We are a unit of consciousness and even more essentially a unit of being. We are being consciousness. And we are together in the same space at a point of tension together, because space is negated and time is not an issue for us in the usual sense. And in all the many places where we may be in the personal sense, we are nevertheless together at a point. Can you imagine that? Together at a point of tension, and we slip into identification with the soul realm on the higher mental plane, a realm of spiritual light, spiritual love, a spiritual sacrificial will, and we, as it were, feel each other in our soul nature, the great unity between us, among us. It's really Jupiter at work, fusing all the many apparent parts into one unified whole. And so we get the sense of there being a group consciousness or a group soul. And the heart is open so that can be realized. And in this group soul we imaginatively unite with the spiritually minded people of the world. First with the members of the new group of world servers, who everywhere are doing what they can to serve their fellow human beings. We are one in soul with them. We don't have to know them personally. On the plane of soul, we are unified. And with the men and women of goodwill, many more of them, we are unified in soul. Those many points of growing light who are beginning to understand that goodwill is love in action. And in fact, if we can embrace it, all human beings as souls are expressions of the good as souls, however the personality might distort. And whether in the body or out of the body, it's all one family of humanity. Embracing all, including all. Pisces, a very inclusive sign. Eliminating the barriers between individuals, the barriers caused by glamour and illusion. A vast, expansive, inclusive, embracing of all human beings who are really all the same being. And somehow we begin to understand there is no my soul or thy soul. Really, there's no my spirit or thy spirit. The mantra on the second ray, naught is but me. And that's a profound realization if we can grasp it, and we should work on it, especially in Pisces and during the coming day, when the energy is increasing, the energy of fusion, naught is but me. We are gathered at a point of mental tension, which is fed by the soul, light, love, and power. We're all at a point. And this point is fed by the will aspect of the soul, so that it is prepared for the projection process of the antikarana into the higher worlds. The will to initiate of the first ray, the will to unify of the second ray, the will to evolve or educate of the third ray, the will to harmonize of the fourth ray, the will to act in a very practical manner of the fifth ray, the will to cause of the sixth ray, the will to express of this seventh ray. We are absorbing in our group point of tension those aspects of soul will which help us project or change, really, our point of tension. That's what projection is. It's an intensification of the point of tension which we can achieve to a higher point of tension which we have not yet achieved. That's what projection really is. So at this point of tension, we gather up the energies of the group personality into the point of intention, really, on the mental plane. We visualize the beautiful rainbow bridge of two colors for us, for each as an individual, the soul color and the personality color for each of us. The red of the first ray, indigo second, green third, yellow fourth, orange fifth, rose sixth, and violet seventh. Those are some of the colors. There are others. So your individual rainbow bridge is of the color of your soul and personality, if you know or have a good idea of what those rays are, or if not, just use the color indigo. And you can imagine your rainbow bridge extending upward along an imaginary cone, a funnel, which leads to the point of brilliant blue-white light, the image we use for the monad. And of course, if you look at the group, all the colors are represented. We are passing this bridge of vibrant light along which higher resonances can pass. We're passing it through the monastic permanent atom for higher mind, through the Buddhic permanent atom, through the representing the slowly organizing Buddhic vehicle, through the atomic permanent atom of spiritual will, representing the still more slowly organizing atomic vehicle, into, imaginatively, the spirit monad, in which we are all identical. And via our group Antakarana, perhaps as a group we can receive impressions that we have not received before, impressions from these higher worlds in which the masters habitually live, and we attempt to access. And what we'll do is, at a great point of tension from the mental unit on the fourth subplane of the mental plane, we will project vividly a line of brilliant white light across the multicolored rainbow bridge through the triadal points and anchoring imaginatively in the monad, and we'll use the second ray mantra, or word of power as it's called. I see the greatest light, whatever your soul ray may be. And of course, if you do this individually, you'll use the mantra for your own soul ray. So many of us are on the second ray, but you can use whatever when you do it individually, but as a group we'll use the second ray mantra. I see the greatest light. It's the unfettered light of Shambhala, and unfettered enlightenment of Shambhala. And we'll sound the Om 3 times outwardly, as inwardly we affirm, I see the greatest light. And I'll use one of the second ray notes, G. And so as a group we are offering our group aura for impression from the higher worlds. And whatever is impressed upon the group aura can be distributed to all working members within this group. So from the highest to the lowest, we are at least imaginatively aligned. We have entered the world, imaginatively at least, where the Masters focus habitually, and our point of tension is rising, so that we can be en rapport with this illustrious body of enlightened spirits, and we can express our solidarity with them as co-workers in cooperation with them, co-workers with the divine plan. So we'll sound out our salutations, our recognition of who they are as spirit souls and what their province of work may be, and declaring as a group our close connection, our loyalty, our cooperation with the elder brothers. So first, inwardly and with heartfelt gratitude, using the powers of visualization, we offer our salutations to the Master, the head of all the Masters, the Master of all the Masters, the Christ. Salutations to the Christ, the Master of all Masters, the teacher alike of angels and of men. Salutations to the triangle of Masters with whom we work most closely, the Masters Morya, Kutumi, Chualku. Salutations to the Master Morya, the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. Salutations to the Master Kutumi, whose ashram does most to prepare for the return, the reappearance of the Lord Maitreya, the present Christ. Salutations to the Master Jwalkul, the messenger of the Masters, as he is called, the one who is given the blue books, and the one who prepares aspirants for the first 3 initiations. Salutations to your own Master as you know him to be or conceive him to be. Salutations to the entire spiritual hierarchy of our planet, and that would include both hierarchy and Shambhala. Now we imaginatively raise our thought to Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known, and with deepest reverence and in all humility, as a group soul, we attempt to identify, attune to the presence of Sanat Kumara standing at the center of Shambhala. And inwardly we sound a long, silent Om as we imagine the group and eventually all humanity imbued with his energy, a long, inward, silent Om. The energy of purpose, the energy of will, We are aligned as much as we can be with the will and purpose of Shambhala. So, with these alignments, at least imaginatively in place, we come together as a point of light and love and power. And we're going to make our approach to the planetary and zodiacal energies now increasingly available. And so we visualize the golden pathway leading to the heart of the indigo sun, and we, all of us, negating time and space, are a point of light, love, and power above the golden pathway. And the pathway shortens and shortens, and we travel with it, and shortens, until we are absorbed now as a united point into the indigo sun. And here together we offer our group mind and consciousness to the mind and consciousness of the Master DK, who is, as we know, an expert in the nature of the energies we seek to approach and understand and transmit. And so as we think and as we receive and as we feel, it is the presence and capacity of Master DK's consciousness which is augmenting our own understanding and reception. And the energies now available are those, from the planetary perspective, of Jupiter, Pluto, and Neptune. They're always available, of course, but there's a heightened intensity when the particular zodiacal sign is empowered through the attention of the Lord of that constellation to the earth. So we raise our consciousness together as a point towards first Jupiter, the exoteric ruler. You can visualize the glyph, if you wish, like the number 4, conveying beneficence and selfless generosity, which those identified as the soul can offer. And Pluto, the esoteric ruler, first, conveying the power to purge the personality of all hidden obstructions to soul infusion. The upward pointing arrow of death, black and red perhaps, that is the accepted symbol or glyph of Pluto, purging. And finally, in a still higher sense, the hierarchical sense, we conceive of Pluto as the power to negate and even destroy the power of the personality as an inhibition to the soul, to the expression of the soul, destroying the illusion of personality and establishing us within the unitive realm of soul, and later even destroying what we normally call the soul, or at least the soul body, giving us spirit identification with all beings. And finally, Neptune, the special ruler, the beautiful deep blue planet, so astonishingly beautiful, conveying transcendent compassion and the power to identify with all aspects of the soul, all aspects of consciousness, including the anima mundi, the soul of the world. Neptune. And we'll focus on these one at a time. Here's the great planet Jupiter first. The orthodox ruler, the esoteric ruler, conferring in Pisces faith, hope, charity, the Christian virtues, benevolence, selfless service, pure helpfulness, we can be filled with these, negating all possibility of destructive criticism. We realize the beneficence of Jupiter overflowing all lesser states of consciousness and absorbing human consciousness into the ocean of reality. As it is said in the light of Asia, the dewdrop slips into the shining sea. And we in our groups, we need this energy. Humanity needs it, so we imagine this whole-making, unifying, uplifting power of Jupiter flowing into our groups, into the world's servers, the men and women of goodwill, into all of humanity. And we especially find ourselves filled with these Jupiterian qualities, imbued by them, our groups elevated by them, we are more than children of Jupiter. Exemplars of Jupiter. As this happens, we sound the Om on the note G, a Jupiterian note, one of them, and feel the Jupiter energy flowing into us and through us in expression. Jupiter expanding the causal body, expanding our soul nature, and helping us really function as benevolent souls in incarnation. What would it be like if we were to each other as Jupiter is to the solar system? Promoting the fulfillment of all. But then we change our focus, and we focus on the power of Pluto, first from the esoteric and then the hierarchical perspective. The black upward pointing arrow of death, death to all that holds us in the lower state of consciousness. And we meditate upon Pluto as the agent for the purification and expurgation, the casting out of all impedimenta, all that's in the way, that is hidden in the depths of the aura, and thus, you see, bringing healing. Pluto with the power of the serpent, the healer with the power of the serpent, purifying, purging, casting out, and understanding that Pluto kills all desire for life within the worlds of illusion. The Buddha taught this. Desire not the lower worlds. Simply serve in the lower worlds, but do not desire them. May we be purified under Pluto, which truly functions in its characteristic manner in the lives of disciples. The group absorbs the plutonic energy. But there is more as we raise our point of tension, the hierarchical perspective, realizing that Pluto in its still higher aspects acts as the agent for the spiritual triad and the monad. Pluto so associated with Shambhala, and conveys the power to cut away and destroy all the limiting ties that bind the soul to the perception of time and space, releasing the soul, our consciousness, into the timelessness, the eternal now, the spacelessness, non-locality of the spiritual triad. Pluto, destroying illusion, and we absorb it thusly. We visualize the repelling power of Pluto being used to expel all the evil which besets us, our groups, all of humanity. Expel, banish, purge the evil, the ignorance within us, healing us, healing humanity, bringing about the salvation of humanity and the release from the compulsive material forces. We're going to bring that plutonic energy into our groups. We'll use a note somewhere between red and orange, a C sharp. And on the Om we see this expelling, purgating, destructive force, destructive of illusion, revealing reality. We see it coming into our groups and into all humanity. We have so much to get rid of, so much to wash away, so much to cast out. So let us not be afraid of that process, because it will reveal the truth and reality. Jupiter, Pluto, and now the special ruler, Neptune. We ponder finally on the influence of Neptune associated with the transcendental influence of Pisces upon humanity as a whole. Neptune, whose monadic ray is the second, though its soul ray is the sixth. And we realize the power of Neptune to remove all egoistic barriers and boundaries between human beings, such that the oneness of humanity, its one soul and one spirit, are experientially realized through the power of identification. Neptune. Christ is Neptune, and his power to identify is immense. Inasmuch as you have done it unto these little ones, you have done it unto me, he said. Ponder identification under Neptune. This capacity to negate boundaries, so Piscean in a sense, flows into our groups, humanity, till a fusing. It's one thing to experience soul fusion as an individual, but what of the fusion together of the soul of humanity with the personality of humanity, a fusion, negating all difference, blotting out all form. So we will witness this fusion occurring imaginatively. I'll use a note I associate with Neptune, an A flat, And we'll visualize these qualities flowing in, and our group and groups becoming representatives of these powers which lead to unity, fusion, identification. Jupiter, Pluto, Neptune, all present in an intensified form now. And we can use some of the hours in the approach to the full moon to attune with them and actually feel their presence and learn to express them in ways that facilitate the expression of Pisces as a whole. And then we raise our imaginative consciousness as a group to the solar logos, expressing through our sun and other solar vehicles and the solar system. The sun in the sky, the great symbolic and actual representation of our solar logos. Each of us is anchored in the solar logos as a monad. We are that which finds its home within the sun. It's the great heart of love, wisdom, a consuming fire of love. We attune with this indigo God, the God of love and wisdom, pouring His presence through every monad, soul, and personality, through Shambhala, through hierarchy, through humanity, and all kingdoms. Solar attunement. We are all children, radiations of the solar logos. And on the note G, the blue note, we sound the Om, realizing this. Our true home within the sun, at least for the time being, until we are outward bound towards the constellations, which day will come for all of us. So indeed now we focus on the constellation Pisces, the fishes, radiating its peculiar quality of light, the light of the world. This is the light revealing the light of life itself. It ends forever the darkness of matter, and of course it would. It leads into Shambhala, where the unfettered enlightenment blazes forth, ending to the lights which are there found, the lights which carry out the will of God, ending for them the darkness of matter. dense and deep illusion at first for Pisces, go forth into matter, but later I leave the Father's home, and turning back I save, and bringing all the red cattle of Geryon in the Hercules myth up to the higher worlds. So we open ourselves then to the feel of the energy quality of Pisces. It's very subtle. Attempting to realize its profound relationship to the second ray of love, wisdom, and the sixth ray of devotion and idealism. Love and devotion. The gentle feel of the Pisces energy, and of course to the planets we had mentioned and their rays, Jupiter second, Pluto first, Neptune the sixth and the second. We have a very powerful presence of the second ray, and the sixth and the first. The Pisces energy seeps into our consciousness. It won't come with a storm. It will come subtly. And then, perhaps visualizing the Pisces glyph, we ponder on the mantram, the evolutionary mantram, spiritual mantram for Pisces, thinking of ourselves as a monad in extension. I leave the Father's home, and turning back, I save. I leave the Father's home, I, the monad in extension, and turning back, I save. And so we will ponder in the silence together these very potent words. As the prodigal son returns, at a certain stage of his return, he takes others with him. So we can ask, does our serving rather, intensify and lead to saving? What is the difference? Do we serve and even save? I leave the Father's home, and turning back, I save. I leave the Father's home. Into the mineral, into the plant, into the animal. Finally a human being, then an angel, then a god. And on the way, turning back, I save. That's what we're doing here when we awaken to the stage of discipleship, serving, and eventually saving. How are we doing this in our local environment, whatever our sphere of influence may be? I leave the Father's home, and turning back, I save. Let us continue to increase our attunement with Pisces and its ray and planetary representatives during the coming hours by using this mantra. It doesn't only have to be used once in meditation, it can be used constantly during this period. And see how this mantra is working out in our lives. So the alignment really starts from the great supercosmic deity in our local sphere, the one about whom naught may be said, the supercosmic logos, embracing many constellations as centers, and through the heart and the head center of of this great deity, one of the petals of which is the constellation Pisces. The energy of the second and sixth ray goes forth. And it reaches our local cosmic logos, in whom our sun is a heart. And passes to our solar god. This saving, redeeming energy, this energy of finality on the cusp of a new cycle, and reaches out especially to and through Jupiter and Pluto and Neptune and under the law of assembly to the earth in Shambhala, affecting every monad, soul, and personality, pouring through those different dimensions and anchoring very much in the heart center and the heart and the head of the human being, and even the base of the spine for Pluto. The second and first rays, especially the sixth coming along. I leave the Father's home, and turning back I save. Great alignment from the Pleiades, 410 light years away in terms of normal time and space, but ever present here, the hub of the wheel, and down through the cosmic and systemic alignments until it actually reaches us in our groups and us as the microcosm. And we know how much humanity needs this energy now, not in the sense of the old outworn adaptations of the Pisces energy in inadequate forms, no, not that way. But in terms of forgiveness, understanding, redemption, the ending of the great heresy of separateness. This can be done in Pisces. And so let us as a group visualize where this energy is needed, the Pisces energy, and see it being applied to heal and correct in its own way those conditions which require its saving application. Sometimes forgiveness seems so impossible, but it at length will prevail, even in the most difficult, hate-filled, conflicted areas. And so sounding the second ray note on an Om, we see the flow of Piscean energy with its second and sixth ray flowing into the areas where its saving force is needed. It's not that we must banish the Piscean energy, because as a cosmic decanate it's ever with us, but we must learn to respond to the Christ nature of that energy and throw away the illusions, the glamours, the mayas, through which so much of humanity presently reacts to that energy. And now, in our concluding moments, we will sound the great invocation together, bringing in the light, the love, the power to humanity, to the kingdoms of nature, to the entire planet and its globes and chains. And see the redeeming energy of Pisces carried on the wings of this invocation, and then the sacred word 3 times. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Okay, friends, thank you so much for being here, and remember 6:05:21, 21 seconds. Even the seconds are important. GMT is the moment of our Pisces full moon, and Tuya will begin her full moon webinar, not a broadcast this time, but a webinar at 4:45. Is it a.m.? No, I guess it's p.m. 4:45 p.m. GMT. So appreciate your presence, and keep intensifying your connection with the Pisces energy during these moments of receiving and holding, which begin in just a few hours. Just keep the inner attunement no matter what you're doing out in the outer world. Thanks so much. We will have this video available to you as soon as we can on the Makara website, www.makara.us. And okay, let's all be together in these moments of fusion and identification, when indeed we can end forever the darkness of glamour and delusion. See you later, and thank you. Bye-bye.